With full-frame cinema cameras becoming more and more available, you may be wondering why Tokina have decided to create a set of 3 zooms created for Super 35 cameras. Well, that's because Super 35 is here to stay. With new cameras like the Komodo C70 and C300 Mark III hitting the market and the used market booming, there is still a need in the mid-end for glass to go with these cameras. So today we're taking a look at the Tokina 25-75 T2.9 Cine Zoom. Tokina now has 3 cinema zooms in their lineup, consisting of the 11-20, 25-75 and 50-135, which all have a maximum aperture of T2.9. We will look at the lenses coverage later on, but all 3 of these lenses have been designed for Super 35 cameras. Across these 3 lenses, you have a really great set of focal lengths though on this format. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Why would I want to invest £4,000 excluding VAT into a lens that can't cover full frame when there are so many full frame options on the market and this is only ever growing? Well, honestly, Super 35 isn't going anywhere. And if you're an owner op, there are so many fantastic Super 35 cameras on the market, new such as Red Komodo and the C70, or if you want to buy used, there are even more options, especially with Red's release of their V Raptor, which has brought their DSMC2 line into a whole new price point in the used market. We actually buy and sell used kit, so if this is something that interests you, check out our used kit via the link in the description. The 25-75 consists of 18 elements and 15 groups. It's roughly 174mm in length, depending on the mount, and weighs in at roughly 2 kg. It has a front diameter of 95mm, which is the same as the other 2 zooms in the set. Now this will make swapping a clamp-on matte box between them much easier, as you won't need to change the clamp-on adapter. It also has an 86mm filter thread, which could be really handy if you want to run a really lightweight setup for filtration. It also has your standard 0.8 pitch gears on your focus, zoom and iris rings for use with standard fizz motors. Unfortunately, it has a pretty average close focus of 0.74 meters or 2.43 feet, which isn't great at the wide end, but is alright at the longer end. When it comes to the overall mechanics of the lens, it's really well put together. It all feels really solid and is decently smooth while being a touch on the heavy side. When it comes to coverage, the 25-75 has a 36mm rated image circle, which will cover most Super 35 sensor formats. Even the Red Gemini's 35mm diagonal and the Alexa Mini's open gate mode. The lens will actually cover full frame from around the 45mm mark, though it does still have some heavy light loss towards the corners of frame. Unsurprisingly, performance is better when stopped down, but what coverage is acceptable for you will depend on what you need for the format you are using. If you want to see how the lens will behave on your camera, head over to our lens tool via the link in the description, where you can see real-world light representations of the performance you can expect with your camera sensor. When it comes to bokeh, the 25-75 has a 9-bladed diaphragm, which forms a decently round highlight when stopped down. Throughout the range you have very obvious onion skinning, which is a result of the grinding process used when creating aspheric elements. You can also see heavy misshapen bokeh towards the corners of the frame across the zoom range when wide open. However, it does perform better as you stop down. Otherwise, the bokeh is fairly clean with minimal if any CA on the edges with a hint of definition to the edge. It doesn't look too bad if you don't mind onion skinning in your bokeh. Flare is really subjective in the cinema world, so let's take a quick look at how they look with the Aperture LS60D firing down the lens. The flares throughout the focal range look quite nice, and you even see some rainbow flaring at 25mm, which is incredibly popular at the moment. It's not well controlled by any means. It performs as you would expect from a modern zoom lens, to be honest. But like I said, whether you like the performance here will be totally down to you. Tokina claims that the 25-75 is parfocal, but our copy wasn't perfect out of the box when used with our Red Gemini and our Komodo with the Kipatai PL to RF adapter. So we slung it onto our collimator, and sure enough, it needs 42 microns worth of shimmer adding to it. This would make it pretty much parfocal though. When it comes to the lens's breathing characteristic, I was actually quite shocked. The 25-75 does an exceptional job throughout its focal range at keeping breathing to a minimum. For a zoom of this size, weight and range, this is an incredibly impressive achievement. The 25-75 is a little soft wide open throughout the range, with it being softer towards the wider end of the lens than the telly. Unsurprisingly, as you stop down, performance is improved, and then the lens really bites up at t5.6. However, performance wide open isn't awful by any stretch. The lens's chromatic aberration performance is pretty decent also. It has a touch wide open throughout the focal range, but as you stop down, this is improved. Unsurprisingly, there is more towards the corners of frame. Even when stopped down, you can still see a little bit in the corners here. In regards to distortion, the 25-75 does show barrel distortion at its widest focal length, which then turns towards pincushion at the more telly end of the lens. This isn't awful by any means, but something to be aware of when composing your shots, and honestly is pretty common to see on zoom lenses like this. When we take a look at all of the Super 35 zooms in the Tokina 25-75's market, there isn't really one standout option that we recommend to everybody. The DZO Pictor zooms are by far the best bang for the buck, considering for around the same price as the 25-75 you can get the Pictor zoom bundle. However, the Pictors do have image quality issues, which you can see by checking out our video, which is in the description below. Laowa's is a very solid option at this price point, with a better range than the Tokina and decent image performance, but it is much larger and heavier. Lastly, you have the Sigma Cine Zooms, which offer some of the best image quality and are extremely fast, but do suffer from breathing, and they don't have quite as a versatile focal length as the rest of the lenses. So really they are all good options, but which ones for you will depend on what image you like and what priorities you have with the lens. If you want to test these for yourself, or any other lenses for that matter, I highly recommend coming into our London showroom so you can look and compare any lens on the market. Details to book a demo are down in the description below. So in conclusion, the Tokina 25-75 is a good addition to Tokina's cinema zoom lineup. If you are a Komodo, C70, Gemini or any other Super 35 cinema camera owner after a zoom with a good range, decent resolution, incredible breathing performance in a compact and fairly light body, the 25-75 is a good solid choice. Let us know what you think of the Tokina 25-75 down in the comments below, and make sure to hit the subscribe button, and thank you so much for watching.